I want to start this video off by asking you, the viewer, what does reliability mean to you? And I mean it too, let me know down in the comments. When you think of a reliable car, what traits are you looking for? Because I'm a data scientist, and as someone that's very into objectively measurable quantities, I realized I had to ask myself, what even is reliability and how do you quantify it objectively? Do people really even mean reliable, or is it just a red herring for a low total cost of ownership? I ask myself this because I like to hear from owners about their cars, but a suspiciously high number of people define their cars as reliable, which is what got me into this topic originally, as I realized that reliable often comes with an asterisk, and what people define as reliable varies to an incomprehensible degree. One of the first places that people look, and I've seen these advertised at car dealerships, are the JD Power and Consumer Reports studies on reliability. And even here, there's asterisks. Like for example, what do they define as an issue? Infotainment issues and mechanical issues are both counted and weighted separately, as they should be, but unfortunately as consumers, we can't dig deeper. At least not for free, other than the little chunks of insight their editors give us. What kind of data is making up their sample? Buick is an infamously touted example of this, as constantly showing up as a very reliable brand, despite being General Motors cars, which fare far worse as an overall brand in reliability, just because Buicks are old people cars which are driven less. And this is a hypothesis that can be somewhat verified through the insurance data. So barring these vague numbers available to the public, people can only rely on the experiences of others and experts, such as mechanics who see and fix these cars constantly, as a source of specific information on common problems with cars and their costs to fix. I think there's two main dimensions when it comes to reliability. The first is if a car will break down unexpectedly, leaving you stranded, and the second is if a car will cost a ton to maintain with a lot of breaking parts to repair. These two dimensions are where I think a lot of buyers have a disconnect with each other, where economy buyers will care about both, but luxury car buyers will mainly care about the former, the unexpected breakdowns. I noticed when luxury car owners speak about reliability, they don't really care much about weird quirks, like especially electrical stuff, or small repairs, as long as the car still runs and it isn't a major mechanical issue of the powertrain, such as the transmission or engine. I was interested in an Alfa Romeo Giulia as a daily driver car, and in my research about it, I discovered it's actually the perfect example of this, with users experiencing constant reliability issues involving the computers and electrical systems. But the cars seemed to be surprisingly bulletproof mechanically, and most owners consider them very reliable. BMWs and Porsches as well, which I actually have experience with, have a lot of $1,000-ish small repairs and maintenance, and the more financially responsible owners, usually from new, don't consider these to be an issue at all, but these can be the value of major repairs on an economy car. On economy hybrids like my Prius, for example, the cost to replace a battery terrifies people at a couple $1,000s. When I was trying to sell my Prius on Facebook Marketplace, I had so many buyers asking me about like battery health, how long until they have to replace the battery. Like, the car was going to be totaled when that happens. But the cost to replace a battery is only a couple $1,000s, and that's just the cost of a scheduled major service with nothing wrong on some of the Euro luxury cars. So when people move from economy cars to luxury cars, and they hear that a certain luxury car is reliable, like a BMW with the B58 engine for example, they're still unprepared for the regular maintenance costs that come with these cars, and it stains their ownership experience, leading them to think it's unreliable just because of high running costs. I think it's a weird mindset to have, where these buyers want to have their cake and eat it too, because they think they're getting a good deal on a 10K car that used to be 80K new, but are shocked that a 4-digit repair costs are for an 80K car, not for a 10K car. Then they suddenly forget that they saved 70K buying it used to begin with. Like, at the end of the day, many of these used luxury cars are still good deals, but you just have to do your research and be prepared for the higher ongoing costs of a higher mileage luxury car. I think the weird part for economy car buyers, on the other hand, is total cost of ownership. Toyota, for example, is very well regarded for their reliability, however they do rust faster than the Euros in my experience, and that shortens their lifespan by decades up here in the Northeast. Well, technically I'm Canadian, so I'm in the south, but who's counting really? I think at least here, with the high amount of gig workers buying up Toyotas, especially the hybrid Toyotas for Ubers, they end up having an unreasonably high used price here for regular consumers that gives them a surprisingly high total cost of ownership. If you're buying them used and don't plan to drive them as frequently as someone doing DoorDash or Uber would. And on the other hand, we have cars like certain Hyundais, non-CVT Nissans, manual or some hybrid Fords, Teslas that do appear to be mostly reliably sound. And I have a ton of neighbors that have a lot of these that get to very high mileage. Maybe they're not as reliable as the Toyotas, but at such an upfront price discount used, it's worth the higher ongoing cost and lower reliability, in my opinion. One metric many people use for reliability is mileage, and I actually kind of agree with this one, although I don't care too much about one car outliers you hear about on the news, like some Volvo or Tesla reaching 1,000,000 miles. But you can still sort of get a feel for a car's reliability and ongoing cost by checking used car listings and seeing the limit at which they start to be sold a lot and then taper off because they get too unreliable to be worth repairing for the car's value. I think if you don't plan to drive your car until it dies, this can be a huge issue for luxury cars, as I find economy cars don't depreciate very hard with mileage, while people are very concerned about luxury cars hitting 6-figure odometers and becoming money pits, which makes mileage a huge factor for depreciation on luxury cars. And I say 6-figure odometers because really, I think it's a psychological trick, since while Americans use 100,000 mile cars as a benchmark for high mileage, here in Canada, people are scared of 100,000 kilometer cars, which is only like 60,000 miles for Americans or Brits. And it's why I think that here in Canada especially, there's a lot of great deals on used luxury cars due to this psychological trick and the messaging of what high mileage is coming from a lot of American media once the odometer hits 100K. And going the other way around, I think this would apply to Americans too, because I don't see any evidence that like cars magically become less reliable at this suspiciously even number, you know? So I think a lot of it is just psychological and not really based in factual evidence. Regular viewers on my channel will know that I love daily driving sports cars. And if you're like me and interested in sports cars and especially daily driving them, what I just said about mileage and depreciation is really important to understand. Because sports cars have famously low depreciation, but a lot of that is just because they're never driven, and that's driving up the average values because the low mileage examples, which are most of the examples, are driving up the average values of the cars. But if you buy a sports car and daily drive it, then you'll face shockingly high depreciation because you'll have one of the few examples of a high mileage sports car. And this is doubly true for the luxury sports cars, like your AMGs, your Porsches or whatever, since they have that high mileage and the maintenance concern tax on them, unlike an economy car that's also a sports car like an FRS, 86, Corvette, Nissan Z, or Miata, which I noticed were all much more generous on depreciation with high mileage. Just me personally, I do tend to lean towards more of a risky mindset and looking for these good deals on the depreciated cars, which may be sketchy reliability wise. And I'm not too keen on playing it safe and paying for the peace of mind with a boring Toyota. But that's all I have to say on this topic for now. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you for watching the entire video, and if you liked what I had to say, please leave a like and subscribe down below. Bye!